you. Otherwise, you can download them and you can install them. Okay. So you can acknowledge in your chat window. Professors, there is a chat window. You can acknowledge. So professors, thank you for joining on time. Okay, this is all the list of softwares I'm going to use. Is that clear, professors? There is a website called anaconda.org. From this website, you can download a tool called Anaconda Navigator. Okay. This will include many IDEs. Among this, one IDE called Spider IDE will be there. I'm going to use that Spider IDE. So good afternoon to all of us, all the professors on the call. So today, so I'm going to use Python. Okay, this is the primary software. Okay. So we are going to learn. One package called the scikit-learn package, and we are going to use the scikit-learn package for some of the machine learning applications. Okay. So in Python, okay, we are going to have this package called scikit-learn package. Okay, it's also called as sklearn package. So machine learning. Okay, so this is an important term. Okay, so professors, you can tell me what is machine learning. Okay, what is machine learning? Why it is important?
Giving the inputs to the machines and make the machines to think.
Yeah. So professors, you can use chat window for sharing your answers. Professors, you can use chat window. So machine learning means it's a ability of a computer program to learn knowledge. Okay, extracting features. Yes, Akivel, Palaniswamy, thank you for your answers. So some simple definition is there. For example, ability of a computer program. Okay, ability of a computer program to learn something on its own. Okay, after this, it is going to make decisions. It is going to make decisions without human intervention, without human intervention or human interrupt. So this is what we are aiming in machine learning. Okay, there are so many algorithms, there are so many methods for machine learning. So for example, definitely max plays an important role. Max plus equations. Okay, equations plus data. All this is going to give some knowledge. And then computers are going to use this knowledge. Computers use this knowledge for decision making. So max is playing an important role, plus statistics is playing an important role, plus a lot of equations are playing, and then data. So from all this, okay, we represent knowledge. Okay, and then computers uses this knowledge. Okay, for decision making. So this is the outline. This is the outline of this. Yeah. Now, when you want to learn machine learning, okay, you need the data. Data is going to play an important role. Okay, for example, data. This data, it represents past knowledge. It represents past knowledge. So data can be, there are different formats available. Okay, for example, it can be a CSV file or it can be an Excel file. Okay, it can be an Excel file or it can be a normal text file, whatever it is. Otherwise, it can be an image or it can be an audio file or it can be a video file or it can be a AV files. There are so many other formats coming up. Okay, AV file. Okay. So in case of Python, there are so many packages available. Professors, I think everybody knows the importance of advantage of Python. Okay, why we are learning Python or why we are using Python means advantage of Python means there are so many packages. There are so many predefined packages available. There are so many predefined packages. We can directly use them. Okay, we can directly use them. So, for example, if you want to work with data, for example, if you want to work with, there are so many packages available. For example, there is a package called Pandas package. Okay, this is really useful if you want to work with two-dimensional data. One-dimensional also you can work with. The one-dimensional data or two-dimensional data, if you have, you can work with. And then I have we call matplotlib library. This is used for simple plotting. This is used for plotting. Third one is there is a package called scikit-learn, which I am going to learn, which I am going to discuss today. Okay, that's something called scikit-learn package. The scikit-learn package is used for machine learning. There is something called TensorFlow available. This is recent package. Okay, this is available for a long time. Scikit-learn is available for a long time. Also, there's a package called TensorFlow. This is used for. This is also used for machine learning. The point is, this is a new package. This is from Google. This is from Google. Today we are going to concentrate on scikit-learn. Okay. So to be frank, there are some fundamental packages available. To be frank, NumPy, SciPy, like this, there are some fundamental packages available. So primarily, we are going to concentrate on these three packages today. So we are going to concentrate on Pandas, Matplotlib, and scikit-learn. These are all the three packages we are going to use in our demonstration. So, Professor, there are so many packages available, but I am restricting myself to these packages. These are all sufficient for today, to today's demonstration. So, TensorFlow, this is a topic for tomorrow. Okay. So now we are going to build models. How to build models? Okay. How to build models? That is the main topic. Before that, I just want to have a small presentation. So if you take, there's a keyword called data science. Data science means it's an interdisciplinary field. As I told you, it is using example statistics, data analytics, machine learning, and other many fields are interrelated here. Okay. As you can see here, from mathematics, from statistics, from computer science, and from information science, all these concepts are used together here in data science. There's something called exploratory data analytics. It uses visual techniques, for example, graphs or drawn. Okay. EDA means exploratory data analysis. So Python, actually, we are going to use this EDA now. We are going to perform this EDA now. Next point is, what are the fundamental operations we will do? Data manipulation, data visualization, data analysis, all this we will do. Finally, we will also do something called machine learning. Data manipulation means, for example, insertion, deletion, updation. That is what everybody knows, IDU, insertion, deletion, updation. And then visualization means we are going to use some visualization libraries. Like I told you, one package called Matplotlib. So this is going to give you some important libraries. For some scientific computation, we're going to use NumPy, SciPy, and Pandas. As I told you, it is used for, Pandas is primarily used for two-dimensional data. You can, for example, Excel sheet. If you have data in Excel sheet, you can easily manipulate them. And then for visualization, we have many packages. For example, I told about one package called Matplotlib. There's a package called Seaborn available. There's a package called Bouquets available. Okay. And then if you want to work with machine learning, as I told you, there's something called scikit-learn packages available, TensorFlow packages available, Keras. Keras is part of TensorFlow now. It is a high-level package for simplifying the deep learning. And then if you want to work with natural language processing, okay, for example, audio files or speech, if you want to work with, there's a package called NLTK. That package we can use. Similarly, web scraping, for that there is a package called Beautiful Soup. There's one more package called Scrappy available. And then image processing, it's another interesting topic. Okay, for example, we are going to use something called OpenCV. We're going to use something called OpenCV. So TensorFlow, along with this TensorFlow, we are going to use one more package called Keras. So please note this. And then finally, you have a package called OpenCV, which is used for image processing or video processing. Okay. Plus some additional packages will be used as we are moving forward. Okay. Some additional packages will be used. So I hope it is, professors, till now the foundation is clear to all of us, professors. Professors, is it clear to all of us? Yeah, thank you, Professor Dr. Gopal Krishnan, for your response. Thank you, Prasanna Devi. So we are going to quickly see a few applications of data science. As we can see here, okay. As you can see here, internet search, definitely Google uses a lot of machine learning techniques. Recommendation systems, it's known to you. For example, if you take Facebook, okay, you have friends recommendation, auto recommendation is there, okay. Even that uses, these recommendation systems are built using various algorithms. Definitely, we have some image and speech recognition. For example, nowadays we have some smart assistants, okay. Smart assistants. For example, Alexa, something like this. Alexa, Google, okay, Amazon. Alexa is there, okay. Everybody knows. You have seen a lot of advertisements. Okay, it recognizes your voice. You can play music or you can look for news. You can ask what's the time, something like this. It has to be connected to internet, okay. So these are all some applications of data science. Similarly, data science, okay, it is used in gaming industry also. Nowadays, we are getting a lot of smart games. Gaming industry also uses this. Okay. Similarly, there are many applications. Professors, I am limiting myself to whatever I know. Okay. So the voice is audible to you. It is used in retail technology also. It is used in retail technology also. My screen is visible to you. Shall I continue? Okay, thank you. So now I want to talk to you about various applications. For example, various mathematical operations we can perform like this. Classification, okay. That is one important thing. Under the classification, there are so many algorithms available. And then regression. Under regression, we have a lot of other techniques. For example, linear regression, logistic regression. Regression means mathematically it is used for prediction. Mathematically it is used for prediction. So we will see small demos. Okay. So actually, primarily we are going to perform two important operations. Okay, one is classification. Okay, we are going to have a demo on classification algorithms. We'll have a demo for regression algorithms also. Okay. Okay, these are the two demos I have planned. Okay, there are so many tools available, not only Python. Professors, if you want to work with data science, there are so many tools available. Like, as you can see here, for analysis, R is there, SAS is there, Python is there. Along with this, for data warehousing, you have there so many tools, including Hive. For visualization, you have other popular tools like Orange visualization tools or Tableau. Similarly, for machine learning, you have Spark, Apache Spark, similarly Azure Machine Learning Studio, Mahout, and then AWS. It is not AMS, it is AWS, Amazon Web Services, machine learning tools. Like this, there are so many tools available. It is up to you to prefer the tool. You can prefer whatever tool you like. Okay. So tools, it's your choice. There are so many tools available. Okay, it is your choice. But I am choosing Python here. Okay, Python-based tools here. Okay. So before that, I just want to give a small introduction to the IDE. Okay, that IDE which I'm going to use. What is the IDE I'm going to use? I told you I'm going to use something called Spider IDE. Okay, you can see this. It is going to look like this. So this is a Spider IDE which is looking like this. So I'm just going to open a new file. Okay, I'm going to open a new file. Okay, so this is the IDE. We can do some simple things here. Okay, I'm just going to start with a small program. So propose Python programming. That's the assumption I have. So let me save this code. Okay, for example, just click on a simple demo. So it's simple. You can see here. This is like multi-line command. Okay, so we perform a simple Python code here. Okay, it will give you one idea regarding the tool. Then we will move on to the scikit. So just a simple program for addition. For example, I'm just having something called A equal to 100. I have something called B equal to 100. I have C something called equal to A plus B, and then I have to print C. Hello. Professor, hope my voice is clear now. So Professor Jagdish, hope my voice is clear now. I have changed the network now.
Yeah, now it's better.
Now it is fine. Thank you, professors. Okay. So I have a simple code. Okay, for example, A equal to B and C equal to A plus B, and then printing. This is a very simple program. So I want to run the program. Okay. There are two options available. One is I want to go for line by line execution. Okay, line by line execution is possible. For line by line execution, I have to press F9 key. Shortcut is F9. Okay. Otherwise, there are one more option is there. Entire file execution. For that, I have to press shortcut key F5. Professors, only two shortcuts. So first, I am using this method. Line by line execution. What's the shortcut here? Shortcut is F9. So for example, just I am pressing F9. So A is defined, then B is defined, C is defined now, and then print C. See, you can see this answer is, Professor, you can see it now. It's printing what? 300. Professor, so it's very simple. Okay, this is what I want to tell you. As you can see here, when you're executing, there is something called IPython console. Okay, what is this? IPython console. IPython console means interactive Python. Interactive Python console. So the output will come in that particular console. One more point I want to tell you, in this IDE, there's something called Variable Explorer. Please look at the left-hand side, okay, at the right-hand side bottom, there's something called Variable Explorer. When you click on this, you can see what all the variables available in the program. As you can see, there is A, B, C, like this, there are three variables. A is value is 100, B is 200, and then C is 300, like this. So this is useful sometimes. Variable Explorer. So it is useful for debugging our code. It is useful for debugging our code. So professors, now sometimes if you want, you can clear all these variables also. It is also possible. There is a right-hand side fourth icon. If you click on the icon, it will say remove all variables. So now all variables are removed. Okay. Similarly, when you come to the IPython console, okay, you can, there's something called clear the console. Okay. So it's like clear screen. Nothing to worry. Now I want to use this F5 option. What is this F5 option? Just press the green color icon also. So as you can see here, the entire file is executed and then the output is coming as 300. Okay. Professors, are you able to follow this? Professors, just a minute. Just a minute. Just a minute, please wait. So professors, I'm going to continue. Okay, I think it's very clear now. This is the shortcut. Okay, F5 I have used. Okay. So now this is the introduction you need regarding this IDE. Hope it's clear now. So this is the introduction I have given now. So please answer me. What is the meaning of F5? Okay, if I press F5, what will happen? If I press F5, what will happen? Entire file will be executed. Entire file will be executed. So press F9, what will happen? So press F9, what will happen? Yeah, line by line execution. And we have something called Variable Explorer. Everybody knows how to work with the Variable Explorer. So it's used for debugging our code. It's actually during debugging we will use this. These are all the points I want to tell you now. Let's go into the next topic. Okay, next topic is how to build models using scikit-learn. This is the next topic. As I told you, in scikit-learn, there are so many algorithms predefined. Okay, in scikit-learn, so many algorithms are predefined. We are just going to invoke. We are going to. So what we are going to do is step one is just import it. Second step is just call the function. These are the two important steps we have to know. Okay, so import the package, and then call the required function, and just call the required functions, and then you will get some answer. Print the answer. Now, naturally speaking, print the answer or computer work with the answer. This is the normal step. Okay, when you're calling a function, it will definitely return some answer. Process the answer. Instead of saying print the answer, I'll say process the answer. So these are all the three steps we are going to adopt in this particular. This is similar to any high-level language. For example, if you know Java language also, okay. If you know Java language also, there also we use this importing the package, calling the function. Similarly, in Python also, we are going to import the particular package and call the required functions and process the answer. I think this is really easy to follow. It's common in all languages. I think it is easy to follow. Okay. So before building the models, yeah. Before building the models, I want to tell you some 7 steps to be followed. Okay. For building a machine learning model. So what are 7 steps? I'll tell you. So this is 7 steps or 8 steps. Nothing to worry. The first step is define the problem to be solved. Define the problem to be solved. So this is our problem definition. Okay. So you need data. Get the data. This is very important. So sometimes it is available in the internet. That's for fast data. Definitely, we are going to use the data. Get the data. Third point is the data is divided into 2 parts. Divide the data into training data and testing data. So there are 2 important types. So we are dividing it into 2 parts. Okay, training. So part of the data is used for training. Remaining part is used for testing. So naturally speaking, okay, how much? You may ask, for example, 70%. 70% is used for. Otherwise, for example, remaining 30% is used for testing. It's up to you. Sometimes 50% is used for training, and remaining 50% is used for testing, like this, training and testing. So after the data, okay, choose an algorithm. Okay, choose an algorithm. Choose an existing algorithm. Now, so this is what choosing an algorithm. I'm going to use scikit-learn. So professors, we have to understand we are going to use what? Scikit-learn here, because scikit-learn has implementation of many algorithms. Okay. So I'm going to import the particular package. I'm going to use the particular existing scikit-learn algorithm. When I use this algorithm, so professors, I request all of us to mute. Okay. So professors, I request all of you to mute. Okay. Some voice we are getting. So we are choosing an algorithm. Okay. So we are going to use scikit-learn package. Now, next step is fit the data. So we are going to call, okay, technically speaking, there is a function, for example, model.fit. Actually speaking, for fitting, we are going to use the training data. We are going to pass the training data. So once, technically speaking, this is a predefined function I am calling. Okay, once the model is fitted, okay, you can use this model to predict. Or I want to know more about the model. So now I want to know the model metrics. I want to know the model metrics. What is model metrics? It gives information about the metrics. It gives more information about the model. It gives more information about the model. What are they? If you ask me what are the model metrics, for example, one important parameter is something called accuracy. What is accuracy of the model? And then there is something called error, MSE, mean square error. Mean square error. And then there is something called AUC, area under the curve. So like this, so definitely I won't tell you, there are many metrics available, but I'm restricting myself to 3 metrics. So accuracy should be more. Okay, this is the idea. Error means it should be less. It should be less. Final point is area under the curve. Okay, area under the curve should be more. Okay, it should be more. So these are the 3 points I want to tell you. Okay, accuracy should be definitely more. Error should be less. There's something called AUC parameter, the area under the curve. It should be more. Okay. So I'm choosing algorithm 1. For example, assume that I'm choosing algorithm 1. Algorithm 1. So for algorithm 1, I am fitting. Okay. And then I am seeing the accuracy. Later, I'll go and change the algorithm as algorithm 2. When I choose algorithm 2, okay, definitely this parameters are going to change. So like this, you will repeat the steps. Repeat the steps from 4 to 6 with different algorithms. Different algorithms. With different algorithms. So now what is the advantage of repeating with n number of algorithms? Okay, for example, we may choose the best model. Okay, now, so for example, you have algorithm 1 parameters. Okay, so professors assume that algorithm 1, for example, accuracy is, for example, 65%. Okay, this is accuracy. When you work with another algorithm, for example, it may be improved algorithm or it may be suitable for this particular problem. That is what. Okay, may be suitable for this particular problem. Algorithm 1 gave 65, algorithm 2 gave, for example, 85% accuracy. So from this itself, we can tell which one you will prefer. Okay, so now choose the best model. Choose the best model. Let's choose the best model. So finally, improve the improve the accuracy. We'll improve the accuracy by applying some techniques. Improve the accuracy by using additional techniques. So this is what I'm going to use it in machine learning. So these are the 8 steps. So professors, I think are able to follow or 7 step or 8 step, whatever it is. So first we have to define the problem, get the data. Data we are dividing into 2 parts. Choose an algorithm, fit the data. Fit the data means during this stage only the algorithm is learning about the data. After that, we are knowing about the model accuracy. Okay, so choose the best model, etc., etc., improve the accuracy. Finally, you can use the model to make some predictions. This is what decision making. This is the application. The 9th step is what? Use the, for example, use the best model. So since we have the best model with us, we are going to use the best model to make predictions. So professors, this is how we are going to work with. Is that clear now, all of us? So steps 4 to 6 will be repeated. Finally, we will come out with one best model. And then we can also, this is line number step number 18, we can make some improvements by using additional techniques. Finally, use that improved model to make predictions. So professors, I think it's very clear now. This is how we work with, hope these steps are clear to all of us. Okay, yeah, Dr. Gopalakrishnan is telling training data and testing data. So for example, to differentiate training data versus testing data. So for example, imagine that, for example, fruit recognition algorithm. Imagine that fruit recognition algorithm. So I just want to work with fruit recognition. Okay. So for example, I have 100 images with me. Okay. So various fruits like apple, jackfruit, etc., etc., orange. So like this, I have fruits. Okay, so many fruits. Okay. Now, so this is the total data. So this I am dividing into, for example, 70 images. I will use it for learning. This is for training purpose. So out of the 100 images, 70 images I will show to this algorithm. This algorithm is going to learn. Okay, apple is going to look like this. banana is going to look like this, orange is going to look like this. Like this, it is going to imagine there are only four kind of fruits. Imagine only four kind of fruits. 70 images I am using it for training. Okay. Now the model is ready. Now the model is ready for testing purpose, because now I want to know whether it is really predicting a image properly. So now what I will do? I will show a new image. For example, remaining 30 images. Remaining 30 out of 100. 100 minus 70 is remaining 30. From the remaining 30 images, I'll randomly pick one image, and I will show it to the computer. Show it to my algorithm. Give it as input. Give it as input to my algorithm. So when I give it as an input to my algorithm, okay, for example, imagine that, okay, the image one which I'm giving is actually a banana image, okay, banana image. So output of this algorithm, assume that the algorithm is also telling banana, okay. That means what I will say, my algorithm is correctly working, like this. So sometimes what happens is, when you have 100 images, I told you 70 images only I'm using for training. The remaining 30 images I'm using for the testing. So image one, image two. Like this, I will test it. Okay, image one, I'm testing. It's a banana. Okay, it's correctly working. Image two, I'm testing. Okay, assume that image two is an orange. Okay, image two is an orange, but output is telling banana. So that means it is incorrectly classified. Okay, it's incorrectly classifying. So previously it is correctly working. Okay, this is incorrectly working. Okay, like this. For example, 30 times I will have. Image 30 like this. You have to give all the inputs. Assume that, okay, out of these 30 images, imagine that, okay, 25 images are classified correctly. Images are correctly classified. So what I will say, now I will say, for example, 25 by 30, this is what, okay, for example, otherwise, for example, 5 by 6, around 90%. My accuracy is 90% accuracy. Like this I will tell. So this is the idea. So test data, which is used to test whether our algorithm is correctly working, etc., etc. Accuracy on testing data. Already during model fixing, we would check. So actually, by passing the test images only, we will really know whether the algorithm is working properly or not, Professor. Because so I told you model.fit. Okay, model.fit means what? Complete training. It will go through the training data. Okay. So listen, actually, as I told you, accuracy I'm getting now. How do I get this accuracy? By testing. Okay, by testing only. By testing the algorithm using test data. This is what happening here. Okay, test data. So I'm just this step only I have explained right now. So from this only I can get accuracy, mean square error, area under curve, all these parameters I'll get only after this testing stage. Okay. So now this is the outline. So professors, I just want to show you some websites, okay, which are really useful for this purpose. Okay, because next time I'm going for a demo. Okay, so the original website is scikit-learn.org. scikit-learn.learn.org. This is the website, professors. It's really a big website. We have a lot of information there. So what I am going to show is just a small, very simple algorithms, very fundamental algorithms I'm going to show. Okay, this is the website. I think it's taking some time. Okay, I'm just putting it on chat window. This is the website, professors. And if you want, I can give some additional websites to refer. Okay, I use these websites for learning. One is machine learning, mastery.com. Mastery.com. This is one useful website. Okay. Another one is towardsdatascience.com. towards datascience.com. And then third one is, for example, Kaggle.com. That's a website. This is one more website. Here we can find a lot of data sets for practice. Data set is also available, plus sample code is also available for practice. There's one more website called KD Nudges. This is also you can refer it. And then obviously speaking, okay, scikit-learn, scikit-learn.org. This is a package. So these were really popular websites. Kaggle.com is also very popular. Okay, data sets are available. Okay, similarly, professors, you know, you can share among yourselves some more websites, whatever you come across. For example, for data sets, there is one more website I want to tell you for data sets purpose. UCI repository, University of California at Irvine. Okay, UCI repository. You can search in Google like this. So you will get a lot of repositories, especially medical field related. Also, you will get. Okay, now everything is there. Climate data. So many things are there. Okay, many fields, including. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, Professor HP has posted. Okay, for example, analytics with, yeah, this is also one useful sites. Analytics, yeah. UCI repository. Okay, many data sets are there. Many research data sets. Okay, so I just post it on your chat window so that everybody is going to use it. Professors, let me go to the demonstration now. Okay, so professors, all of us, I think we are ready now for the demo. Shall we go to the demonstration part now? Yeah. So one by one, I will do it. Okay. So I was talking about something called ROC curve. Okay, that is very, very important parameter. So what is this area under the curve? I'll just give a small explanation. Then I will come to the demonstration part. Just a minute, professors. I'm opening another PPT now. Yeah. So professors, pay attention now. So this is what I'm trying to demonstrate in this particular afternoon. Okay. So these are the important parameters I want to know. Okay, one is, for example, there is something called confusion matrix is there. Okay. Confusion matrix, everybody knows, professors. For example, actual class is C1. It is classified as C1. Okay, so true positive. Actual class is C1, which is classified as not C1. Okay, this is coming under false positive. So this is what. Okay, and then second, this is not C1 category. Not C1 classified as C1 means it is false negative. And finally, what? Not C1 classified as not C1, that is coming under true negative. So this is very useful one. Okay, this is useful for us. Confusion matrix. Okay, professors, I'll share this notepad with you. Don't worry, professors, I'll definitely share you. So, professors, we will see how to compute this confusion matrix. Second part is these are all the formulas involved, Professor. These are all the formulas involved. You know these formulas. Okay. So we'll see how to get this confusion matrix. This is what I was talking about, ROC curve. What is ROC curve? Okay. It is technically called as receiver operating characteristics. Receiver operating characteristics. Receiver operating characteristics. Okay. So in x-axis we will have false positive. Okay, this is the only. It's a simple graph between x-axis false positive. In y-axis we have to put the true positive rate. From the confusion matrix we will get a false positive and true positive. If you just plot it as a graph, professors, you will get a graph like this. So which assume that we have three algorithms. Okay, algorithm 1, algorithm 2, and algorithm 3. Like this, we have three algorithms. Okay. Now, which algorithm is better? That's the question. Which is better? We have a doubt which is better. So the graph, which graph is having more area? For example, the first graph is having only 50% of area. Second graph is covering what? 60% of the area in the square. In the square, it is covering 60%. But if you look at the third graph, which is covering more area. Okay. So area under the curve. Okay. So more area under the curve. Okay. That is what we prefer. This is the meaning of AUC. Professors, I think it's very clear now. So we'll definitely prefer the third algorithm. ROC and AUC are related terms. ROC means receiver operating characteristics. By drawing that graph only, we are going to find AUC. AUC means area under the curve. Okay. So the algorithm which is having more area is preferred. That is the point. Okay, professors, I think it's very clear now. Okay, but there are some other parameters also available. Okay, given this explanation, okay, let me show you one small program. Professors, as I told you, we have to first of all import it. Okay, professors, pay attention now. Everything I'm importing from sklearn. Professors, sklearn is a shortcut for scikit-learn. So in demo 1, okay. So I'm using, for example, import sklearn. Sklearn means actually scikit-learn package only. The scikit-learn package. See here, I'm importing data sets. I'm importing something called linear model. Okay. So this is one predefined function. See here, I'm just importing something called ROC curve. I'm importing something called ROC AUC curve. Don't worry about it. So what I want to tell you is, as I told you, it's all predefined functions I'm importing. I'm going to use them. But for plotting purpose, I'm going to use what? One plot called pyplot, which is available in this package called matplotlib. So these are all the 6 imports I have. Professors, don't worry. Just by experience, you will automatically learn all this. So look at the first 5 imports. Everything I'm importing from sklearn only. So what is the algorithm I'm going to use? I'm going to use something called logistic regression. The algorithm is logistic regression. And I want to know the ROC AUC score. Further, I'm having a function. I want to plot. Okay, this is for plotting purpose. So what is the use? This is for drawing graphs. This is for drawing graphs. So this is the score I'm interested in. I'm interested in what? I want to know the score. I want to know this score. Okay. Definitely, what is the algorithm? Logistic regression algorithm I'm importing. Okay, this is one function. Okay, for getting data. This is like preparation of data, random data, preparation of random data. For this, I'm going to use it. Preparation of random data. This is just a small function. Okay. Okay, random data. Because I told you that data can be many forms. But here I'm generating some random data. Generation of, instead of saying preparation, the better word is generation of random data. This is the algorithm I'm going to use. What is this function? Very, very important function. As I told you, data will be divided into 2 parts. This is used for dividing the data, into two parts. So divide the data into what? Into two parts. Training data. So are you all getting it now? Why I am importing all this process out of experience? Through practice, not experience. Through practice, you will automatically know all this. Otherwise, you can refer some sample code. Okay, you will get all this. So let me demonstrate this. What is happening? Okay. So first of all, professors, I just run this program. Okay, and then I'll share it with you. When I'm running this, you can see this. This is the output I'm getting, professors. So there are two algorithms used. One algorithm, there is no skill is used. Okay. So it is covering. You can see this. It is what is the area under the curve? The blue color dot represents only 50%. Yes or no? If you look at the square, okay, it is covering the 50% of the square. And then what happens? Okay, for example, I have used logistic regression. When I use logistic regression, okay, what is happening? That algorithm, okay, covers how much? Area under the curve is 90%. So, professors, are you getting this outline now? Yeah, there's a chat question coming up. Yeah. So this is what we are really interested, professors. Algorithm 1 is 50%, algorithm 2 is around 90%, like that. So how I am getting this? So this is one simple pie plot. Okay, this is actually we are using something called pie plot. Pie plot, very easy. Okay, x-axis false positive rate and y-axis true positive rate. Okay, and then you have to specify the color, what color, etc. Okay, color means, for example, pink color, something, or orange color, etc. This is what three information. Finally, we will say pyplot.show. Finally, we will use one function called pyplot.show. That means show means it will show the graph. This is what I want to tell you. Okay, for 1 minute. Now come to the algorithm. Okay, come to the algorithm. So as I told you, I'm just calling one function, make classification. This is one predefined function, and then I'm dividing my data into what? 4 train x, test x, train y, test y. You have to understand one important point. Doubt. What is this x? What is the doubt? Okay. So there are, for example, y is a function of x. You have to think like this. Y is a function of x plus some constants. You have to think like y equal to function of x and c. What is c? C is a constant. Okay. C is a constant. Now, if you call this function train x, we will get 4 type of data. Professors, this is very important. Train x, test x, train y, test y. That is training data, which is used for train x means from the x something is used for training. Test x means from the x something is used for testing. Train y means some amount of data which is used for training. Test y means what? From y some amount of data used for testing. So like this, listen, this is one important understanding. Now I have totally 4 parameters. As I told you, this is algorithm. Line number 22, I'm specifying the algorithm. Model is equal to linear regression. This is the algorithm. As I told you, next step is very important step, model.fit. Professors, this is the line which is talking about fit. Yes, correct. Krishna, correct. Nagaraju, y is target variable, correct. So while fitting, I am passing what? See this? Train x and train y. So during fitting, what is all training data is passed. All training data is passed. All training data is passed. Next, I am finding the ROC score. Okay, one more point, professors. One important point. So I am just predicting. Okay, predicting the probabilities. Just a minute. So this is a score. Okay, professors. As I told you, there's a predefined function I am calling. What is the function? ROC AUC score. This is the predefined function. For this, I am passing what? Test y, comma, expected answer. Professor, nothing to worry. This is the expected answer. So based on this, I will be getting the score. Okay. So for example, this is what being printed here. Okay. It says ROC AUC is equal to 0.93. 0.90903. That means 90%. Okay. So one more point. There are two plots. So there are two curves now. So there are two lines actually. So this line draws the blue color dotted line. This line is drawing the orange color second curve it is drawing, and x-axis I am telling, y-axis I am telling, and finally I am calling the function called pyplot.show. So professors, I think you are getting it now. You may have a doubt. Okay, some concepts in me. Now go on. So professors, when this program is running, okay, when this program is running, see here it is creating all these variables. Okay, so totally if you see X, it is having 1000 records. If you see train X, 500, test X is 500. So 500 plus 500. Are you able to follow, professors? Totally X is having what? 1000 records. Among them, test is having 500, training is having 500. So that's what you have to understand. So one more important point, you can double click on this variable and you can see what are all the values available. This is randomly generated. I told you, this is randomly generated numerical values. This is what you have to understand. So one doubt is coming up. Yeah, 50%. Yeah, professor, 50% I am dividing. So professors, this particular demonstration you will find in this particular web page. This particular demo and explanation you will find in the web page. Okay, no need to share line by line. Okay, you will be able to understand it very well. So professors, I will be able to do the first demonstration, but definitely I'm telling there are some more concepts to be explained. But hope this is giving us clarity. Okay, like how algorithm 1 is used. Okay, how algorithm 2 is used. Okay, how algorithm 1 is, which is better. Now I'll say, for example, algorithm 2 is better. Okay, that is linear regression is the logistic regression is better. Yes or no? I'll say this logistic regression is better. So professors, okay, hope it is clear to us. Hope it is clear. Okay, but you will have some doubts. Definitely, you will have some doubts. You can post your doubts if you have. Whatever possible, I will clarify from my side. Okay. So one important point I want to tell you. Open this. You can clear this also. You can clear this. Clear all the variables, and you can come to the console. Clear the screen also. Okay. So shall we go to the next demo, professors? I'm just planning for one more demo. At least some interesting demos I want to show you. One more demo I want to give it to you. So professor, shall we go to the next demo? You will definitely have some doubts. You can post your doubts. I'll tell you. So I'm not getting any response. I think my chat window is frozen. I hope. Okay, professors, shall we go to the next demo? Next demo, I want to show you about confusion matrix. Thank you, professors. Now we want to learn about confusion matrix. So this is the demo. Okay, professors, you can see this. You can easily understand the concept. Okay, professors, all of you. What is confusion matrix? It's known to you. I have explained the theoretical part. So professors, you can see there is a method called confusion matrix. Simply we are going to call the function confusion matrix. As I told you, professors, when I was explaining about how to choose the best model, I told 3 parameters. What are the 3 parameters I told you? One is accuracy, second one is mean square error, third one is the AUC. This AUC we have just now seen. Now we will see how to see the accuracy and how to get the mean square error. This is what we are going to. As I told you, for a good algorithm, the error should be less. Very simple. Mean square error. MSE means mean square error. Error should be less. That's the key idea we have to remember. So to measure the MSCC, we simply call this function called MSC. That's all. Are you getting it now, professors? This is the advantage of this scikit-learn. You want to know simply what? Simply call the mean square error function from simply call mean square error from which package? From sklearn. Are you getting it now? sklearn.metrics. sklearn.metrics. What is metrics? It is a sub package. Metrics. Similarly, R2Score. This is also see. You can see this, professor. Confusion matrix, R2Score, mean square error. Everything is there from metrics. Okay, professors, one more point. Okay, what is this confusion matrix? I want to give a small explanation. I'll run the program and I'll explain you some. I'll provide some explanation. Okay, confusion matrix. I'm interested in R2Score. Okay, confusion matrix, and then I'm interested in R2Score. Okay. So, you have to see this. I'm just making it very simple. So this is the input data. Okay, email like this. This is what expected answer. Okay, but assume that you are using an algorithm which is. So what is the meaning? Male, it is classifying. That is the wrong classification. One more, female, it is classifying as male. It is wrong classification. Third one is correct. Male, male. Fourth one is male, male, correct. Fifth one is female, classified as female, correct. Sixth one is female. So this is the data. Okay. So for this only, I am going to find the confusion matrix. So hope it is clear, professors. So there is something called expected answer. Okay. There's something expected answer versus actual answer. So if in all possibilities, if the expected answer is equal to actual answer, means there is no error at all. Okay. If in all cases expected answer equal to actual answer, then what? Then there is no issue. There is no error at all. There is no error. That means what? There is no error means what? Our model is what? 100% accurate. 100% accurate. 100% accuracy. So, professors, I think my voice is clear to you and it is audible. Professor Jagdish, hope my voice is audible and clear. Okay. So now simply I am calling this function called confusion matrix. I am passing the actual comma predicted. Okay. This is going to give me true, positive, true, negative, etc., etc. Okay. That is what I am going to print. So, professors, let me execute this line by line. Professors, I am just doing line by line execution. I am pressing F9. So everything is imported. You can see the right hand side. Mean square error is imported. R2Score is imported. I am executing line by line. This is the expected answer, actual answer. Confusion matrix is this. So this is one small data. For this is the confusion matrix. It's being printed here. Confusion matrix 0, 1, 0, 2. I think you are able to understand this, professors. What is the confusion matrix I'm getting? So like this you have to interpret. Okay, this is row 1, this is row 2. Okay. Now I have I'm printing all this on screen. Okay, I'm printing all this on screen. So this is the value of true negative, false positive, false negative, TP. I think everybody knows this. These are the 4 important terms of this matrix. Now this is another data. This is another data. This is another data. For this data, let us execute line by line. So first I am defining actual, then predicted I am defining, and confusion matrix. I am getting the values and I am printing the value. This is the confusion matrix. Professors, you can see it on the screen now. 2, 1, 1, 2. What is this Ravel function? Professors, this Ravel function is used to convert two-dimensional data into one-dimensional data. That's the only point you have to note. Okay, so what is this Ravel function? Converts 2D array into one-dimensional array. Because this two-dimensional array, how I want, okay, I want like this, for example, 0, 1, 2, like this I want as a one-dimensional data, isn't it? So this is what Ravel function. So if you call the Ravel function, you will get data like this. So it's a predefined function in Python. That's why I'm telling, it's converting a two-dimensional array into one-dimensional array. That is what Ravel function. So finally, I'm printing it. So I think, professors, now you are able to understand. Okay, so you got the false positive and true positive. So you can see print. Okay, for example, TP by FP. What is TP by FP? It is giving 2.0. So print false positive versus true positive. Okay, it's giving 0.5. So you have to draw a graph. Professors, I told you. Okay. When you go for this AUC curve, in x-axis, what you will say? You will have false positive. In y-axis, you will have true positive, like this. So you got all these values now. Yes or no, professors? You have all these values. Otherwise, see the variable explorer. See the variable explorer. You'll have true. Everything will have all these four variables. True positive, this is the value. False positive, this is the value, and you can easily plot it. Till now, I think it's very clear now, professors. I have this is my sample data. This is my sample data. Using my sample data, I have done this. So hope, professors, I'm sharing it on chat window. Okay. So till now, I think you're able to follow. So hope this is clear. How to work with the confusion matrix, how to get the true positive, false positive, whatever you want. Okay. How to get it. So this is a very straightforward code. Okay. Very straightforward code. The second part of the demonstration, I'm going to use one predefined data set. Okay. So this is demo 2 continues. Demo 2. This is part 2 now. I'm going to use something called iris data set. Iris data set. I'm going to use something called iris data set. That's why line number 31, you can see this. Load iris. Data set is equal to data sets dot load iris. What is data sets? Data sets I have imported from the sklearn only. See this? This is the import line. So referring word, this import. Okay. So in case of a scikit-learn package, you have hundreds of sample data sets. You're getting people. I told you we can download from internet, but actually when you in scikit-learn, hundreds of sample data sets are automatically available. We can use it for demonstration. Okay. I'll give a small explanation about this data set, so it will be easy for us to. Okay. So for example, professors, this is the website I told you. Iris data set. Okay, if you search like this, you'll get some images. From that, it will be easy to explain. It will be very easy to explain. So see, professors, just this is the website I told you, professor. You remember Iris dataset, UCI machine learning repository. I told you, professor, this is the website. UCI website. I'm sharing that. It has lot of datasets, including medical, biomedical, Government of India, Government of America. Okay. So many websites, so many country informations are available. This is what I told the Kaggle. See, the same datasets is available in Kaggle also. Kaggle is a private company, but they are doing it in a different level. You have algorithms also. You have sample code also available in this. I'm just clicking on the images. What is this, professors? This is analyzing 3 flower data. Look at the flowers. So this data set has 3 types of flowers. One is versicolor, Setosa, virginica. For our time being, you can imagine like this: rose, jasmine, lily. Like that, you can understand for our convenience. Okay, so versicolor has some properties, Setosa has some properties, virginica has some properties. Okay. Here, what they have captured is sepal and petal. Okay, so I'll tell you: sepal with sepal length, petal with petal length. Like that, they have. This is the parameter they have. See here. This is what they have measured and they have made it as a data set. I think everybody is able to follow. So 4 information will be there: sepal width, sepal length, petal width, petal length. If this is the information, what kind of flower it is. So this is real world data. So professors, in this iris data set, so totally what 3 type of flowers. What are they? So for our time being, okay, I'm telling. Okay, for example, jasmine flower, rose, jasmine, rose. Imagine rose, jasmine, lily. So everybody knows rose has its own properties. Okay, for example, jasmine has its own properties. Okay, lily has its own properties. Okay. So based on the properties, we have 150 records. Imagine that we have 150 sample records. Because among them, 50 represents rose. Among them, another 50 represents jasmine. Among them, another 50 represents lily. Another 50 represents lily. Imagine like this. Instead of foreign flower name, I'm using local flower name. Now, this data set I'm going to train. This data set I'm going to train. After training, okay, that's for model.fit. Training means what? We are going to call this function called model.fit. Model.fit of training data. After this, I'll give a new query. I'll pass some parameters. It has to tell what flower it is. It has to tell what flower. Tell the flower what type of flower it is. Okay. So for this, I'm using something called decision tree classifier. Professors, what is the model? What is the algorithm I'm going to use? Professors, you can see this decision tree classifier. So as I told you, the n number of algorithms already implemented. Just a minute. I'm just looking at a chat window. Somebody has posted a query. Just a minute, professors. Professor, 1 minute. My mouse is not responding. Just a minute. So let us run this code, okay? So Krishna Raju, I'll definitely address your query. Okay. As I told you, we can use n number of algorithms, professor. Okay. We can use n number of algorithms. This is one algorithm I'm using. So professors, let us pay attention now. First, I'm loading the data set. First, I'm loading the data set. And then this is the algorithm I'm choosing. Then I'm calling the fit function. Okay. Once the model has learned, okay. So this is expected answer. Okay. Predicted. So this is very, very important. I'm just calling model.predict. So professor, here is what machine learning comes into picture, professor. Okay, this is trying to predict. Okay, this is trying to predict. So this is predicting. Okay, the answer is stored in a variable called predicted. Okay, professors, you can see this. There is a variable called expected. Okay, there is a variable called predicted. Okay, you can explore this if you want. Okay, if you want, this is predicted. So you can see this. Expected is 150. That is, so expected data has 150 rows. As I told you, 50 plus 50 plus 50, 150 records. If you double click, you'll see they'll have 150 rows. At the end, you can see this. The last number will be 149. 0 to 149, that is 150 records are there. Okay. So what is happening here is one important point I want to tell you. I want to print the model matrix. So see this, I'm printing the model matrix. Confusion matrix, if you see this, professors, this is very, very important. Look at the confusion matrix. The model has learned the dataset thoroughly such that, okay, when I'm testing with sample data, there is no confusion. This is very, very important. 50 plus 50 plus 50. This is what very, very important. What is this happening? See. What is the remaining? Rose or Rose? This is Rose, this is Jasmine, this is Rose, this is Jasmine and Lily. Understand what is happening? Rose is classified as no confusion. Similarly, Lily flower is classified as Lily alone. There is no confusion. That means this model is able to what? Is able to work with this data, yes or no? This computer model is able to work with. It is able to work with this flower data, yes or no? That means if I give a new row consisting of 4 parameters: sepal width, sepal length, petal width, petal length. Like this, if I give 4 parameters, this model is able to correctly identify. Yes or no? This is able to identify what? This is able to correctly identify the flower. This is what machine learning comes into picture. This is correctly able to identify the flower, type of flower. So this is what machine learning, professor. Okay, even though we are using decision tree classifier, which is a data mining algorithm, so we have to understand this result. When I give new row, okay, it is correctly identifying. That is why the confusion matrix is giving us very clarity. Rows it is identifying as flower rows only. Jasmine parameters, it is correctly identifying as Jasmine. Lily parameters, it is correctly identifying as Lily only. There is no confusion. That means what I say, not even a single rows it is classified as a Jasmine or Lily. There is no confusion. That means this is actually 100% accuracy. So now I am going to print the R2 score. Okay, professors, pay attention to the line number 46. Look at the line number 46. Look at line number 46. I'm just executing this line. Say R2 score is 100%, okay, and then mean square error is 0. This is very rare, okay, professors. I'll tell you, this is very rare. In real time, we do not get 100% accuracy. Okay, this is what I told you. I think very clear now. So when I print the parameter, what is the accuracy I'm getting? Accuracy is equal to what? Accuracy equal to 100%, and MSE mean square error is equal to 0. That means this is a very accurate model. But I want to tell you, for this data set, decision tree classifier is working properly. But we cannot say that decision tree classifier is suitable for all algorithms and it will give 100%. It is not possible. For this flower classification, it is working. Professors? Yeah. While testing, okay, I am passing the training data only. This is a very important point. Please note this. Why I am getting 100% accuracy? So why I am getting 100% accuracy? Because while testing this algorithm, I am passing the training data. That is why it is telling. That is why this is giving 100% accuracy. This is the point you have to note. I'm not using new data. Professors, I want to give a clarity. If I give new data, that is different. I'm just passing one of the training data only. That is why it is giving 100% accuracy. R2 score. So, professors, during the discussion, I told 3 important parameters. Remember, 3 important parameters. What are they? One is accuracy, and then mean square error. Okay. There's something called R2 score is available. Okay. R2 score. Okay, 1 minute. Let us look at the output. What is happening here? R2 score is 100%. It is one of the parameter, one of the important parameter. Even this should be high. This should be high. This should be high for a good model. Okay, professors, I think now it is clear to all of us. This line is very, very important line. This is the main line. Okay, why when I'm calling the predict function, I am passing the existing data, data set the data. Data set data means existing data only I am passing. This is a very, very important point I want to clarify. That is why it is giving 100%. Professors, are you able to follow? This line is very important. That is why accuracy is 100%. Okay, professors. Hope it is clear to you. Okay, I'll share this particular code with you all. Okay, and I want to go to the next demonstration. Okay, and then there is something called CART model. What is CART means? Classification and regression tree. Nothing to worry. This is an acronym. Yeah. Saktivel sir, professor, I'm just sharing it now. I'm sharing this code. Okay. So here I'm using something called what is CART? Classification and regression tree. So professors, shall we go to the next demonstration? And this is going to be the last demonstration for this particular session. More 3 I will give now. Are you all ready for this? So the third demo, I just want to tell you how to download something from internet. Okay, if you want to download from internet, okay, professor, there's a shortcut available. Just import this pandas package and give the URL. Okay, pa.read CSV within bracket file. If you give like this, it will download from internet. Okay, this is the key idea. Sometimes you will have data in internet. Okay, sometimes you will have data in internet. So this is a very simple code. Okay, which will help us. Let me run you. Let me share this code and. I want to run this program. I just want to run the program. Entire program, I'm running it now. See here, the program has executed, okay? And then if you go to this variable explorer, you'll have a variable called data. You will have a variable called data. In this data, it has 767 records. Everything is downloaded from internet. Professors, are you able to follow? It is downloaded from internet. This data I have not locally. So this is one useful code, okay? So to download data from internet. So here I am using some package called pandas, one function called read CSV. So is that clear now, professors? So using this method, you can download any data set in your local machine. You can download anything from local machine. Any data from any internet file, you can download. Just to change the URL and then just execute this, and then you can do manipulation. How to manipulate? For example, you can say you can write some other code. You can print data. And if you execute that, it will print the data. See, it's having 767 records. Is that clear now, professors? This is one useful code. Okay. So here I am using what? Pandas. As I told you, Pandas is a library which is used to work with two-dimensional data or one-dimensional data. You can work with both.